How you prepare for a golf tournament?
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
Well, let's see if we remember how to do this. I had to do 2 takes. Welcome in. It's back. The Daily Puck Drop, Tuesday, September 3rd. We are broadcasting from the Puck Sports Studios. We are not on the road in Goldee, the super van. Of course, the Puck Sports Studios built by the fantastic group there at Limbach Lumber Contractors. They offer free deliveries for everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They handle you with care. They are proud Huskies as well because they've been doing it since 1930. That's why you get that old school approach there at Limbach Lumber. Give them a call at 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbachlumber.com. We appreciate you watching. If you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, please do the very same thing. You can, of course, follow me on social media, Puck2040, on X and Instagram, and then all of our video clips and all that kind of content that we put up after the show on TikTok at Puck_sports, and then on Facebook there on just search Jason Puckett. All right. Got tongue-tied there for a second. It's been a while. God, it's almost been 2 weeks since we did one of these. I know we did like a minor one when we were in Whitefish, Montana, but that didn't count. It was like 2 minutes long. It was a fantastic trip. It was much needed to get away for a little while. It has been a hectic 5-6 months for me personally, for my family. So it was nice to kind of like get away, debrief, last trip before the summer. But for me, it was really nice just to kind of unplug, get away, not have to do or deal with anything, and kind of check out. And everyone should do it. I know some of you maybe can't, but I think it's always healthy to just kind of check out, get away from it all, whatever you're doing. It's not like what I'm doing is hard. This is the easiest job in the world. So there are people out there, you're watching and listening to this. You have much tougher jobs. I always recognize that. All right. What we do, whether it was on radio or on this new platform, this is like Kevin Calabro used to say, fun and games. All right. This is easy stuff. We are talking about sports and we're trying to make you laugh and entertain you. I hope I do that every single day. That's always the goal. So I do miss it, when you're away for, 10 days or so, you get towards the end of the trip, you miss talking to all of you, interacting with all of you. Please continue to do so on all the different ways to interact. I enjoy it very, very much. But it was a great trip. It was a long trip, damn near 1,700 miles that we went. And of course, it wouldn't be a road trip with Goldee without something happening to the van. So as we are, and I'll try to make this brief, but I think you guys would be entertained by this because this always happens. And I was going to take video of this or pictures of this, but I think there were a lot of emotions were running high at the moment. So I decided not to do so. So we started off our trip. We drive up late Tuesday night up to Leavenworth, camp in Leavenworth, get up early in the morning. That would have been Wednesday of the starting of the trip. Made our way to Penticton. If no one has ever been to Penticton in Canada, just south of Kelowna, highly recommend it. It's a wonderful place. Best way to describe it, I describe it to anyone, it is their version of Lake Chelan, but better, like 1,000 times better. And I love Lake Chelan. I grew up going to Lake Chelan every year. Lake Chelan's wonderful, but this is better. It's bigger. There's more to do. I think the lake, the lake is better. There's more going on. There's more to do downtown. Wonderful. We were camping on Okanagan Lake, which is about 20 minutes outside of Penticton. But anyways, as we're crossing the border, I notice as we pull up, as we're pulling away from the border, I look back in the van and it's just steaming out the back. And I'm thinking it's either, well, it's one or two things. It's steam or smoke. And I'm like, oh, Christ, here we go again. I took my kids on this similar trip without my wife about 3 or 4 years ago. The same thing happened exactly at the border. I'm like, here we go again. So we pull off. But this time, I mean, there is smoke, steam. It is barreling out the back. And I'm thinking at this point, maybe something's going to catch on fire. So I immediately pull over. I'm like, kids, get the hell out. All right. No dogs. We didn't take the dogs with us. I said, get out. We unpack all the bikes. Pain in the ass in this bike rack that I have. Take off all the bikes. Engine, if you don't know, in one of these old VW Vanagon Westphalias, the engine's in the back. So take everything out, open up the engine, steam and coolant is spraying everywhere. I've severed one of the coolant hoses. Where one of the coolant hoses is now leaking out and spraying everywhere. I take off the top part of the engine, the little cover for it, and as I'm placing it or removing it, I think it slips. It slips and right on the hose, severs the hose. Now coolant spraying everywhere, everywhere, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Trip's over. We haven't even really started. We're gonna have to get towed. We're in Canada now. Like, where are we gonna go? Like, the town right when you come in is not a real big town anyways. And I'm like, it's already over. We've had this great trip planned, and really one day into it, it's already done. So we're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Coolant spraying everywhere. We let it finally all spray out. I'm like, oh my God. Call up my buddy Eon. Eon's automotive. He runs a Vanagon Westphalia shop right on Westlake. Okay, right when you're crossing, let's say, it's right by the Fremont Bridge, right on Westlake. You can't miss it. If you drive along Westlake, right around the Fremont Bridge, you'll see Vanagons everywhere. That's Eon's. All right. I don't know how many of you watching or listening have a Volkswagen, but if the chance that one of you do a Westphalia or a Vanagon, the best place to take it is Eon's. Okay. He is unbelievable. When you go into an automotive, like a mechanic, and they're intimidating and they talk down to you and they make you feel stupid, or at least that's how they make me feel because I don't know what I'm doing. He's the complete opposite of it. So I call him up. Thank God he answered. And I said, hey, here's the situation. I took pictures of everything that happened. The coolant hose, it's severed. Here's the deal. Walked me through the whole damn thing. How to repair it. We sit there. So now we've got to figure out a way to get to an automotive parts store that is like 10 minutes away. There's these two lovely Canadian women. Two gals on a road trip. They were on the Oregon coast, probably in their, I would say, late 60s. And they're pulled over by us, and I can say they're kind of milling around a little bit. And they're like, oh, are you okay? And, we're kind of dealing with stuff, so we're fine, we're okay. And they offer my wife a ride to the automotive store to pick up a new hose, the little cinchings to go around the hose, more coolant, and a wrench. Of course, I didn't bring a wrench with me. I didn't bring my tools with me because I forgot. And I forgot extra coolant because I'm an idiot. That's really what you have to know about me when I go on these road trips. I forget a lot of stuff. And that were two key opponents that I forgot to take on the road trip. My tools, although I don't know how to use any tools, and extra coolant. So they take her, they bring her back. Eon, who is unbelievable, Eon's automotive. I'm not getting a deal out of this. I'm just thanking him because he saved our ass. And he walked me through it. So we changed that. We fixed the coolant hose. We fixed that, which is a miracle. If you know anything about me, again, I'll say it. I'm a moron. I don't know how to do anything. We fixed it. We added coolant. Then he's like, all right, now that you've added all that and you've changed it, now you've got to bleed the coolant line going up to the top of the radiator. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound fun. How do I do that? Oh, you gotta go in there. You gotta take off the grill. You gotta like unscrew this tiny little screw, and you have to listen and let the air go all the way through, and then eventually like coolant's gonna spit out, and you got to bleed the system. You can't take off until you bleed the system. So we did all that. I'm making this very long-winded. I'm sorry, but I thought you would enjoy it, and because it's really day one into the trip, and we fixed it, and we bought a whole bunch of extra coolant, and son of a bitch. That thing made it all the way. That made it from Penticton, camping there for 3 days on Okanagan Lake, which was unbelievable, beautiful. If you ever go, Okanagan Lake, South Provincial Park, wonderful, wonderful spot. Camped there for 3 days. Then we're making our way to Glacier National Park. We go over the Canadian Rockies, which there's about 10 mountain passes that you got to go over. And every time we're going up one of these mountain passes, I'm just thinking that damn coolant line it's gonna bust on us, or the van is gonna break down. We've got this thing so weighed down. I'm going up these passes, and the best way to describe all these passes when you go through kind of that Canadian Rockies part is like, it's like Stevens Pass, but like 10 miles longer, okay, and I would say even steeper. And every one of them is like this. I would say max miles per hour going up every one of these passes, 25 or 30. I even shot video of it. It's up on X, and go check it out. One of the videos that I posted was going about 25, really capping maybe 30, and that's every one of these passes. And it's up and down, up and down, up and down. We went to Champions Lakes, which is beautiful, high mountain lakes. It was our first stop, and then we went to Surveyor Lake, which is about another 3 hours away, 3 hours east of Champion Lakes. Beautiful country. I've never driven that Highway 3 in BC. Just gorgeous. If you ever have a chance to do it, you don't have a VW Vanagon, and you can go a little bit faster, I highly recommend it. There's just so many gorgeous lakes, and the scenery, it is just spectacular. Then we made our way into Glacier. Camped about 4 nights at Glacier National Park, which was great. A little cool, a little calm. It wasn't the best weather in the world, but spectacular, as always, is Glacier. If you haven't gone there, go to Glacier. It's great. They do have some issues with the reservation system on booking some certain things there, but we can get into that later. And then made our way back to Idaho, and then to Whitefish, Montana. And then Whitefish, Montana to Idaho, Idaho to Pullman back home. So 10 days on the road, 1,700 miles, 2 different countries, 3 different states. Made it. And it was just fantastic. Good trip to end of the summer, kind of cleanse everything and get ready for the fall and get ready for a football season. And while I was gone, son of a bitch, I knew something was going to happen. I knew it. And I blame Jim Moore. Because Jim Moore, and we'll talk to Jim coming up on Wednesday, jinxed me. He's like, oh, you're going to leave, and something big's going to happen. And son of a gun did it. The second I leave, was it Thursday, right? Yeah, so Thursday the 22nd is when they fired Scott Servais and replaced him with Dan Wilson. Shocker that it was Dan Wilson. I've only been saying that for 5 years, that Dan Wilson, it was going to be the manager of this team. It's because it's just on brand for these guys. And then I see later that then they hired Edgar to be the hitting coach. On brand. All of it's on brand. But barely could follow anything. Because one of the best things about this trip is I literally had 0 internet connection. Ever. When we were in Penticton, the only time we had it was the one day we went into the town. And then what we were doing, we were riding our bikes, and then we were floated the river. So I didn't really have my phone with me. And then by the time we got back to the campsite, no coverage there, no coverage in the Rockies at either of those campsites, driving nothing at all. And then once you get into Glacier, you got no internet in Glacier. So I think the next time after I had left that really was able to look at my phone consistently to see stuff was when we got into Whitefish, Montana. And then I, was able to kind of catch up on a lot of stuff. I don't know what all the discourse and the talk was about the firing of Scott Servais. I know it's old news, but I'm catching up on it. And the hiring of Dan Wilson, I'm sure people were energized that Dan Wilson was hired. He's a team favorite. He's a fan favorite. People love Dan Wilson. I totally get it. But very on brand that they would hire Dan Wilson. And as you can see and how things have gone, I know it started off on a good note. They had that walk-off victory against the Giants. They ended up winning the first 2 series. Now they've kind of fallen apart here a little bit as they gone on the road. So the initial feedback was, all right, maybe Dan Wilson has made an impact. Julio started to play a little better in those first couple of games, and everyone's like, oh, maybe Edgar Martinez is the secret sauce to fixing Julio Rodriguez. So there was always going to be a little bit of a quick overreaction. We talked about it before, before I left with Brad, with Divish, all of our baseball guys, Duquette. There was the chatter that they would make a move with Scott Servais. It wasn't going to change anything, and it hasn't changed anything that they fired Scott Servais. Nothing is different about the team. They don't play any different. The lineup's not different. They still strike out all the time. They still can't hit. They still don't pitch well on the road for some reason. So nothing has changed, and nothing was going to change. And nothing, as we've repeated this for weeks, months, years about this. And it's a broken record. Nothing will change with this group ever until there is new ownership. But now they'll never get new ownership because these guys will never sell. They're making too much money. They're just raking in the money. They have no one can force them to sell unless they get in trouble doing something. So your goal or your wish for them to sell, I mean, as much as I want it to happen, it's just not going to. It's certainly not in the foreseeable future. Will they clean house? Well, they better clean house. If they bring back this front office for a 10th year, they just are not serious about winning. He's had 9 years. Okay. They're 6 games out, 5.5 in the wild card. Is there still time? Is there still hope? Is there a possibility they could get back in it? Well, sure. It's never over until it's actually over. But is there any Mariner fan think right now that they're going to get back into this? No, nobody thinks that because they can't consistently score any runs. And that's what you need to get on a hot streak. I mean, look at the game on Monday. It's the same problem that they had with Servais. The same problem when they had with who the hell was the offensive coordinator that fired? Was it Brown? Okay, same problem there. Then they fired Servais. Then they fired DeHart. Well, okay, it's the same issues. Top of the 8th inning, back-to-back walks from Turner and Polanco. What do you do? More strikes out. Haniger strikes out. What happens in the top of the 9th inning, which was just embarrassing. JP, Robles, JP, and Julio, they all strike out on 12 pitches. It's just it's the same issues. They haven't changed. They haven't changed for years with them. I don't know what, and I think you would all agree, the hell is their offensive philosophy? I don't know what it is. I have no idea what they're trying to do offensively. Zero. I know what they talk about, but I don't know what they're trying to do. I mean, 24 games left. I have no idea. I thought maybe when Dan Wilson would take over from Scott Servais that he'd remove JP from the leadoff spot. He hasn't, and this is just because of his perceived. And he's a leader. I'm not saying he's not, but just because he's a respected person in that clubhouse and a leader on the team, which are all good things, it does not mean he gets to hit leadoff. He has not been good this year at all. 0. And the guy you're hitting ninth just hits, and all he does is hit. And the reason you want him to hit him lead off is because he's going to hit more. He's going to have more at-bats, more turns at the plate. Don't you want the guy who's hitting to have more at-bats? They know this. Why do they continue to hit him lead off? I have 0 clue. And this seems like it's piling on the JP, like we all hate JP. No one hates him. We like him. I like him. It's like when we had the discussion a year or two ago when we were talking about should they go after some of these free agents at shortstops. It's not you don't dislike JP, but if there's a better option at shortstop that can just be improved defensively and then offensively, and you can move him to second, then you do it. And he'd be a good enough teammate to probably say, okay, I'll do it. But their issues have not improved with Dan Wilson. I mean, thank God football season is here. Thank God the Seahawks are starting this week. Thank God college football is started. They'll go to the back burner as they normally do, and immensely frustrating. The most frustrating season that I can remember with the Mariners. Well, you know what? Actually, last season was pretty damn frustrating too, based on where they were 2 years ago. You told me that 2 years ago, after that series with Houston, we did this whole exercise last year too. A year, if you would have told me a year from now. But 2 years ago, after they had that great series with Houston, we thought they were on the cusp of being a World Series contender, and they just shit the bed for 2 years. Absolutely shit the bed. It's an embarrassing for the entire organization, all of it. And what's more embarrassing than anything, and I'm sure this got a lot of play everywhere in the city, is how Scott Servais ended up finding out. But this is who Jerry Dipoto is. But this is who the front office is. This is who ownership is. I don't know why people would expect them to handle things any differently. The fact that Scott Servais found out through the media rather than from the guy who claims to be his friend, it's just on brand. It's on brand with the whole organization. They're toxic, all of them. And it starts at the top with Stanton and Larson and all these guys. It's a secretive, a toxic environment that doesn't care about winning. And they don't care how they treat people. And for a guy who spent 9 years as a pretty damn good manager, to find out on a ticker that he got fired is embarrassing. And it's not acceptable. And here's what else is not acceptable. And I don't know all the details, and someone's going to probably say, listen, they had to do it this way because of the timing of it and all that. Fine. It's excuses. All of it's BS. The fact is that the president of baseball operations did a Zoom press conference is chicken shit. Is absolutely chicken shit. Get up there on the podium, flanked by the owners. That's the other problem with this thing too, is there's no accountability. Zero. There's zero accountability from John Stanton. Sit up on the podium, look these people in the eyes, this press corps, and answer questions. You did it on an off day. You release a statement. You hold the press conference on Friday before the game against the Giants. It's easy peasy. If you're going to tell me, well, they didn't want the press to come in there because it's an off day on Thursday. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Do it Friday. Friday at 1 o'clock. Friday at noon. Bring everybody in there. You throw out a statement. You could even throw out a Jerry Dipoto, hostage video explaining it, and then say, we'll take more questions coming up on Friday. By the way, sitting next to us will be John Stanton. By the way, Chris Larson will be sitting next to us, the principal owners of the team, to answer your questions. But what do? They hide because they're scared and they don't want to answer anything. So the fact is, anytime, what's the difference between doing a Zoom and a press conference? It's the perception, the accountability. It's different when you're answering questions in front of people rather than on a video screen. Come on. Embarrassing. It's just top to bottom. They are so embarrassing sometimes. There's so many great people that work behind the scenes there too. That's what's so maddening about this organization. And it's maddening that we continue to support it. But we're addicted. We're sports fans and we're hypocrites and we love baseball and we love them. You can love the team. You can love the Mariners. You don't have to love the people that run it or the people that own it. And that's where I am. I hate them in a way. But I love the baseball team. I love the Mariners. And I couldn't believe they handled it like that. I just couldn't believe it. And deservedly so. I'm sure they got crushed. And they should get crushed for how he handled that. In fact, he does an interview with Ken Rosenthal, and then Rosenthal is the one who leaks it. Geez, I wonder who told him that Scott Servais got fired. I mean, it's just, and it's probably not his decision. Dipoto's decision was probably, Stanton's decision. Then John Stanton should stand up there and ask questions and answer questions. That's what he should do. If they don't fire all of this group at the end of the year, then I mean, I think everybody has their opinion on what M's ownership is, but I think it will be cemented because they all need to go. It all needs to be cleaned out. It has not worked. There's been some good. You acknowledge the good. His front office has made the organization better, has made the system better, no doubt. But he cannot finish the product, and he's had 9 years to do it. He can't bring the boat into the dock. He can't do it. He just cannot. He can't land the plane. He just can't do it. And stop making excuses for him. Okay, yes, it's an ownership problem with not being able to spend money, but it's also an evaluation of talent problem from this guy. He overvalues things. He tries to get cute. He burns bridges. He's not good at relationships. It just needs to change. I mean, ownership will not change, even though that's exactly what needs to happen. It won't change. So you got to hope, pray to God that they can find someone they can bring in here and change things. But we shall see. What an epic collapse. I don't, it's trying to rack my brain to think of more of an epic collapse. I mean, I don't think anything will touch the 94 Sonics, right? Nothing's ever going to touch that. I mean, I don't know if that's a collapse. That's not a collapse like this, but you go and have the damn best record, the number one seed and get swept by or get beat by the Nuggets in the playoffs. But this thing, to have the lead they had, to know all they needed to do was make a few small improvements to the offense in the offseason, and then throughout the season they couldn't do it, and to now just go from 10 games up to 6 games back. They're 500. Hell, they may end up with a losing record this year. By the way, Mitch Haniger, the Tigers now have a better record than you, so you're not better than the Tigers. You know how many games they're up on the Rays right now as we record this on Tuesday? I think in the win column they're 2. The Rays sold everything at the deadline, including players to you. They sold. And now they may end up with a better record than you. Hell, the A's are playing better baseball than you since the All-Star break. The A's. You got beat by the Angels in a season series. Hey, cheers. Welcome back. Mariners baseball. Well, thank God it's Seahawks season starting, coming up on Sunday. Fired up for it. Fired up for they're bringing the throwbacks back, the silver helmets, the royal blue uniforms. Thank God. Beautiful. It's a real crime that they can only wear those twice a year, though. Why? Can we just change the rule? Why? What's this weird rule that we just came out that we can only have it twice? Why? Why can't you wear it as many times as you'd like in college football? Yeah, they change uniforms every week. And it's college football. Why can't we do that in the NFL? If the Seahawks want to wear the throwbacks 5 times, why can't they do it? Why do they only get twice? So we only get to see these beautiful pieces of cloth and that great helmet, which is just spectacular. First game, which is great against Denver. I don't know, and maybe someone can leave a comment. Is Denver wearing their throwbacks? They should. That would be great if they were, but I didn't see if they were or not. That, and then what's the San Francisco game, I think? The Thursday night game. They should wear, first of all, they should be their permanent uniforms. But it should be an exciting season. I've been really encouraged to see and hear a few things coming out recently. One was a podcast I think Richard Sherman did. That I think I saw, when I was catching up on a bunch of things, talking about the mentality of the team changing, that it's gotten back to this more kind of old school physical approach, where everyone, this hunger, this desire. And Sherman said, I just think that, the last few years, under Pete, that had been missing, that had been gone, that hunger, that desire, that attention to detail. And then that same kind of message was echoed by Jaron Reed after Monday's practice. And he said, hey, no disrespect No shots taken at the other staff, but I think McDonald's got back more to that physical, dominant, and dare I say, I think more serious tone. And I'm going to give credit to Rob Staten, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Rob joins us Thursdays, and he'll have a new time, and we'll get to that at the end of the show today in the football season. But that was kind of Rob's big point when we were discussing back and forth when they got rid of Pete Carroll and added Mike McDonald was Rob just wanted to see it. Can we get more serious about football? Not that Pete wasn't a good football coach, clearly was, but the rah mentality, which is good and it worked. But can we get back to just like kind of old school approach to coaching? A little bit more attention to detail. And that's exactly what McDonald, at least what we have seen, has brought to the organization. And you've now heard a former player who played for Pete, current player who played for Pete as well, and now with McDonald, and Jared Reed saying that. So, that stood out to me, especially with what Reed said on Monday. And, I think that, in this day and age of the athlete, I've always heard the term, players coach. You want to be able to talk to this athlete differently. I still do think that there are football players out there that are old school, that have been used to be, not that McDonald is yelling at them, but to, have a coach who's not exactly their best friend, who maybe keeps his distance a little bit more. They've used to that probably in high school, some of these guys, and then in college. And, I think for some of these guys, it's normal. Like, it's probably more normal of how Mike McDonald coaches than how Pete Carroll coached. So I think it's an encouraging sign. Expectations for McDonald. You saw Peter Schrager, NFL Network, he's going to be the coach of the year. I think there's a lot to be excited for this team. Defensively, they've got a lot of great pieces. That secondary just looks to be legit. I just think that Devin Witherspoon, can be a star in this defense. The defensive line, Nowusu, that sucks with that injury. I caught up on that one. The injury in preseason against the Browns is why you almost don't want to play any of these guys during training camp games or during preseason. It's just, God, stupid stuff like that happens. They've got depth. They're versatile along the line. Byron Murphy's been a wrecking ball during these games, but also during practice. The linebacker situation continues to be fluid, and I think that will be the one, even though, Dotson and Baker appear to be back, but, that's going to be a one that you're going to want to monitor and watch. They're talented, not a lot of depth behind them. Been saying this the entire time when we talk about the Seahawks. The thing that I get excited about the most is that offense. I can't wait to watch the offense perform. Now, a lot of it's going to start up front. Can they perform as an offensive line? They're still not fully healthy. Can Connor Williams get up to speed? What is the decision they're going to make at right guard? Is it going to be Haynes or is it going to be Anthony Bradford? Hopefully Abe Lucas at some point can come back after the PUP, but they got a good one in George Fant there at right tackle. But their skill position players are as good as anyone in the NFL. Wide receivers are stacked. I think DK will have a huge season. That Ryan Grubb in the offense didn't unveil probably, I don't know, what percentage of the plays did they show in preseason? Probably not a lot. And, how will they, there's going to be an uncertainty. Some of these teams are going to film on what he did at Washington, but he'll change. He was a different coordinator when he was at Fresno State than he was at Washington. It kind of adapts to his personnel. So he's not fearful of running the ball, and he's got two good backs. So I can't wait for it to get started. I think it's gonna be great. I think they have a very good season. I think that 10-7, 9-8. Even though I love 12-4, but I can't say 12-4 anymore. But yeah, I think they're gonna be sneaky good. I didn't think that a few months ago. When they made the move, I didn't think that as much. But as camp went along, and I think as they played, and I thought the reaction from the players to McDonald kind of convinced me that they're going to be better than I thought. College football got started this past week. We'll have more on Tuesday's show, Full College Football with John Canzano. We'll recap it, everything with him. We've got our podcasts that are coming out. The Cougar podcast, the Old Crimson podcast with Jim Moore and Paul Sorensen. That will come out on Wednesday, along with Puck the Huskies podcast. Also, our Cougs Corner podcast, where we talk to Jake Dickert and then various coaches on his staff and players every single week. Jake will make 5 appearances throughout the football season. He's made one in the preseason. He'll make one next week and leading up to the Apple Cup, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable playing the Apple Cup September 14th. This week's guest on Cougs Corner will be John Mateer. Rightfully so. I think John had a pretty good debut. And for someone who was the Mateer ball washer that I've been for the last 2 years, I was excited to see Mateer perform the way he did in person. He was spectacular. And John Mateer just gives the Cougs a different quarterback from an athletic standpoint that they've never had. They've never had this. They've never had a quarterback that can tuck and run. Not like this guy. And I was sitting there and it dawned on me that the guy he reminds me of, and listen, I'm fishing for a comparison with him. And if he was wearing a different number, I probably wouldn't come to this conclusion, but I just thought of Jake Locker. Now he's not as big as Locker, clearly, but they wear the same number. I just thought they played the same. You know, the big arms. I would say probably John at this point, a better arm than Jake. But their athletic ability when a play breaks down is you can't defend it. It's why he won the job. It's because it's the great unknown. You never want to play a mobile quarterback. And a guy who's mobile but fast and shifty. I mean, go watch his 40-yard touchdown run. He's juking guys left and right. They didn't have that last 2 years with Cam Ward. It's a great stereotype about Cam Ward because he's black. He should be an athletic, great quarterback or, super fast. He wasn't. The pocket quarterback. He was shifty. He was more like Ben Roethlisberger. He slips out of plays and makes them happen. And he had a good debut against Florida, which made me kind of angry. But, yeah, I thought the Cougs looked great. Defensively, I don't know. They had some missed tackles. I know everyone's kind of down on their defense a little bit because they give up so many points. I mean, the last one's a garbage touchdown. I mean, in between that first touchdown and the garbage one, I mean, they didn't do anything. So I'm not too concerned about it. Love what they did with their running backs. Pulasi is going to be a stud. Schellenbaker's awesome. We told you about, at least I was told about Wayshawn Parker. Then I watched Wayshawn Parker in person when I went to a scrimmage over there in August. The real deal. And Wayshawn Parker is going to be a beast and is going to be a stud. An absolute stud. They got Texas Tech coming up on Saturday, 7 o'clock kickoff there on Fox. Huskies, we got home after the Coug game, watched a good portion of that. It didn't look great for the most part, I'll be honest. Coleman's a stud. I mean, Jesus, man. God, Jonah Coleman is just a bowling ball. Man, physical and fast and shifty. He was the best, clearly the best thing from the game. But I'd say this, and we'll bring this up with Jordan Reffett and Elise Woodward on the Huskies podcast coming out tomorrow. Had Weber State had a quarterback that could actually throw the football, that they would have been in trouble. That would have been a close game because they were running the ball and they had their way running the ball. And they could do anything they wanted running the football. And the only reason that they couldn't do, Weber State couldn't do anything offensively is that guy could not throw the ball. And yes, maybe their secondary had something to do with it. That quarterback for Weber State, was it Munoz? It was the worst quarterback I've ever seen in college football. He was awful. Awful. Washington still wins the game because they're more talented, but it would have been closer. I do believe that. Rogers, I would say Will Rogers looked okay. I thought he was more athletic and shifty than I thought. Wide receivers, we probably knew there was going to be a big drop off with the guys they lost last year. And it's one game. I think we overreact to one game all the time. It's a new staff, all new players. So we'll see how they react. The Eastern Michigan coming up this week before the Apple Cup. But the Apple Cup will be crazy there in a couple of weeks. But again, the Old Crimson podcast is going to come out tomorrow. We'll release them. I'm trying to think because the Old Crimson podcast Puck the Huskies, and then our Cougs Corner with our guest John Mateer tomorrow. When we go live next week, we'll have more on that coming up here at the end of the show. I'm not going to incorporate those into the live show. Those will be separate podcasts and separate shows that will come out every week. They're going to come out every Wednesday. I just don't know if they're going to come out at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I haven't decided yet. I will say this, tomorrow, I probably will release them at 1 o'clock, or if not, maybe sooner. I don't know. All of this is fluid. But I just want to let you know that those podcasts, the Huskies, Cougs, and then the Cougs Corner, where we talk to either Dickert or a coach or a player every week, those will just be exclusively podcasts, no live element to it, and we'll release those every Wednesday. So that's coming up there tomorrow. Speaking of that, I want to just quickly tease what's happening. The rest of this week, it's normal how it's always been. Podcast features. We release the Daily Puck Drop at 10 a.m. We release all our guests at 1 o'clock. Starting next week, we're flipping the script. We're going live. I've wanted to do this for a long time. We'll see how it goes. Everything can be fluid. Leave feedback, please. Please leave feedback. What you like, don't like about it. It's all good. I'm a big boy. I can handle all of it. It will all still be podcasted. Nothing is going to change. The length is going to stay the same, all of that. It will just come out, the podcast versions of it will come out at 1 o'clock since we go live at 10 a.m. So as I've been releasing the Puck Drop at 10 a.m. every day, that will now be live at 10 a.m. And then as we release all of our guests at 1 o'clock, all of our content will be released at 1 o'clock. So Mondays, I'll give you the quick recap of what we're going to do schedule-wise. Mondays, Jim will still be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We may add him to more shows. That's up to Jim. He's retired. He can do what he wants. But on Mondays, you're going to have our Seahawks roundtable. I'm still working on a name. I like the Hawks Nest with Curtis Crabtree and Tim Booth. Of course, you know Curtis, former KJR personality, reporter, now with Fox 13. Tim Booth, who's filled in a bunch on the radio for us, great friend. Associated Press. They'll have a roundtable with us every Monday, recapping the Seahawks win at 10:30. So Jim and I will go 10 to 10:30. Then the Hawks roundtable at 10:30. Jim Duquette, as we continue throughout baseball season, we're going to wrap up Jim throughout the baseball season. We're going to do Jim at 11:05. So Jim will join us a little after 11 o'clock, and then we'll wrap up the show then with Hey What the Puck. We'll wrap up every show with Hey What the Puck. Tuesdays, we'll have Rob Staten joining us at about 10:10. Rob will join us at 10:10 on Tuesdays. Canzano will join us around 10:40. And as baseball continues to wrap up, we'll have Bill Kruger at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays. And again, when baseball is over, which apparently is over now, that will be fluid. We'll change more things around schedule-wise. Wednesday, Ryan Divish. We'll talk to Divish for a good chunk of time. And lots to recap with Divish. Danny Kelly will join us on Wednesdays from the Ringer, talking, National League football storylines, fantasy football. He'll join us at 11 o'clock there on Wednesdays. Thursdays, Mike Garofolo, our NFL Network reporter, will join us at 10:10. We may have another special guest joining us on Thursdays, still trying to figure that out. But in the meantime, Brad Adam, we'll shift Brad to Thursdays. He'll be joining us at 10:30 until the conclusion there of the Mariners season. Friday, again, Jim's back like he is on Wednesday. We'll have our handicapper, Troy Wins, is back to handicap all the games coming up. Also, Chris Egan is back as well. And, of course, we'll do voicemails on Friday. So, again, that's what the schedule is going to look like next week, starting on Monday as we go live. It's fluid. Fingers crossed it all works out. But, again, nothing's going to change from it other than the element of it going live. And where can you watch it? Where can you listen to it? Well, you can watch it on Twitter, X, and on YouTube. Those are the two main channels we're going right now. And you will be able to listen to it very shortly. We're putting the finishing details, and when I have it out, I'll ship it out, and I'll tell you how to get it. We have an app, a Puck Sports app being built right now. It should be ready to go, hopefully by next week. And so on the app, you open it up, just like the iHeartRadio app, you listen live. And you'll be able to, if you can't watch us on YouTube or on Twitter, you'll be able in your palm of your hand, just like you probably all listen to this show right now. You'll be able to open up the app that we have built and listen to us live. And you'll be able to listen to us in your car. All right. It'll be just like live radio. That's what we're going to provide here for you. All right. Before we wrap it up here, of course, we wrap up every daily puck drop. I'll be updating you every day this week about this schedule because I know it's kind of all over the place. And you've become familiar with one schedule. Now I'm changing up on you, but this was kind of always the plan once the football season started. Hey, What the Puck is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Two things. One, and I'm doing this because hopefully he listens or watches this later. Had to run some errands yesterday, and I went with a buddy and his daughter, and they had to go up to, he was helping me get a boat trailer out, and then I agreed to go up to the outlet malls with him because that's where the trailer was. And he wanted to go. He's like, I gotta go visit my favorite store. I'm like, okay, well, what's that? Tommy Bahama. And I told him I was going to talk about this. Let me just ask you here, guys, and women, wives, you volley in a response to. If you're shopping at Tommy Bahama, is that officially when you've given up? When you've officially decided it's over for me clothes-wise? When I've dipped my toe into Tommy Bahama? Now, I get the fascination with Tommy Bahama. Loose-fitting, stretchy, kind of comfortable. But it just really feels when you go Tommy Bahama, all I think about is Chris Berman. That's who I think about. So is Tommy Bahama giving up? Leave a comment, please, in the YouTube section. And maybe you are one that loves Tommy Bahama and you wear it. And you're saying, hey, Puck, you're an idiot. You're missing out. And a fat guy like you should be loving Tommy Bahama. I get it. I see the allure of it. I definitely do. But I'm just wondering. Because let's say I dip my toes in Tommy Bahama. Am I giving up? And that's okay. I can admit I am. Lastly, here on Hey, What the Puck. I mentioned it before. I don't know why. And I asked these people, but we spent, 5-6 days in Canada. 3 different campsites with Canadians. Penticton, Champion Lakes, Surveyor Lake. And I had asked them every single time, why are you so nice? What is it about Canadians? If we have a Canadian audience, if anybody that is Canadian watching or listening to this, can you just let me know? Send me an email. Hit me up on Twitter, Puck2040, puck@pucksports.com. Why are you so nice? What is it? Are you raised that way? Is it just you're born, you come out of your mother's womb, and you're just nice? What is it? Is it fake? I don't think it's fake. But every one of you are the nicest people I've ever met. And I've been to Canada a lot. We had a fishing cabin up on Vancouver Island. Same thing. Campsite at Penticton, people next to us. Wonderful. Easygoing conversations. Champion Lakes, same thing. Surveyor Lake, same thing. Everywhere you go in Canada, the nicest people in the world. And they seem happy. They all seem to get along. And then you come down here, they drive nice. They pass you, they wave. I'm in Goldee and I'm pulling over for everyone. Every time because I'm driving 55, I get off to the side, let people go by. They wave. Thank you for letting us go by. You drop back down into the States. I do the same thing. I mean, I got people flipping me off. I'm letting you go by and they're mad. What is it? What is this secret sauce there about Canadians? I don't know. I'm going to move up there. I think I need more of their aura, their personality. I really, really, really do. And I will move at some point to Penticton. I'll tell you that. Wonderful spot. That's Hey, What the Puck. Again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. Give them a call anytime anything happens to your house or your property, your commercial property. Trent and Derek and the whole crew over there is going to take great care of you. Personal touches. There's a lot of stress going on. You don't want to deal with it. and you want somebody that can handle it all, those two guys are going to handle it all for you at Restoration One. So make them your first call, restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. Also, give them a call, 206-817-8917. All right, it's a Tuesday coming up. Later, we'll release episodes at 1 o'clock. Brad Adam of Root Sports. Lots to cover with the M's. Dan Wilson, Scott Servais. Can they make it back? John Canzano as well, talking all things college football, the Big Ten Network debacle with Xfinity, the Mountain West deal, the Pac-2 dissolving after they did not reach an agreement for 2025. What's the next step for Oregon State and Washington State? John's got the latest information on that. Also, key takeaways from Washington's win, Washington State's, all the Northwest schools, a thought or two on all the defectors as well. So we'll cover that all today with John Canzano and Brad Adam. Those ones coming out at 1 o'clock today. But we're back, the Daily Puck Drop on Tuesday, September 3rd. Appreciate it. Miss you guys. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for listening. It means the world to me. So please continue to do so. And we'll talk to you later. As always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!